Hello everyone, welcome back. Gamechanger is director Shankar's direct maiden attempt in directing a Telugu film. For this, he has partnered with the ever reliable Ram Charan to create this high budget political drama. Did Shankar succeed in his attempt or not? Let's see what the reviewers from the digital media and YouTube has to say about this film. Welcome to Soberguy Reviews. I am Vadivan. In this video, I have compiled the reviews of 10 different YouTubers and 7 different digital media. The plot summary goes like this. Ram Nandan, played by Ram Charan, is an uptight IAS officer who has anger management issues. He is committed to eradicating corruption and ensuring fair elections. For this, he has to go head on with the Chief Minister's son, Mopi Devi, played by S.J. Surya, who has aspirations to become the next Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. How this loyal government servant Ram Nandan takes down the corrupt Mopi Devi is what the film is all about. Wow, what an innovative plot in 2025. So now let's look at what the digital media has to say about this film. To start with, Times of India. Paul Nicodemus of Times of India, he has given a rating of 3 stars out of 5. He says, Gamechanger is a well-executed commercial film. Shankar's grand scale and Ram Charan's brilliant performance combined with strong supporting roles and technical excellence make it a compelling watch for the enthusiasts of this genre. And he goes on to say, Ram Charan and Shankar deliver a grand political drama. Quite generous rating, and the review is also quite positive. The next is the Indian Express. Avinash Ramachandran of the Indian Express gives 2.5 out of 5. He says a riveting Ram Charan anchors a middling Shankar showreel that needed more upgrades. Despite the film blowing hot and cold with erratic consistency, the Ram Charan starrer film is truly held together by consistently good performances. So here the credits are given to the performances, and whatever experience that the viewer gets is not from Shankar. The next is India Today. Janani of India Today gives 2.5 stars out of 5. She says Ram Charan excels, Shankar settles for mediocrity. Director Shankar's Gamechanger, starring Ram Charan, Kiara Advani and S.J. Surya, is a handbook on electoral politics. The film looks spectacular, but the story is mediocre at its best. The next is OTT Play. Awad Mohammed of OTT Play gives a rating of 3 out of 5. He says this Ram Charan starrer is a passable political thriller with Shankar's signature style. Ram Charan shines in this social drama that has a predictable plot narrated in a decent manner. So at last some credits given to Shankar. And then we have Cinema Express. Sudhir Srinivasan of Cinema Express has given a rating of 2.5 out of 5. He says, big ideas, thin characters, little feeling. Gamechanger begins with the promise of thematic depth and an evolved Shankar protagonist, but the lack of emotional resonance and uneven execution means that this is a missed opportunity. The next is The Hindu. Sangeeta Devi of The Hindu says the fun is tailor-made for instant gratification. Director Shankar's latest has fun segments featuring Ram Charan and S.J. Surya, but the hasty narrative leaves little room for emotional heft. And finally, we have The Hollywood Reporter. Rahul Desai of The Hollywood Reporter says Shankar fails to change his game despite a valiant Ram Charan. Shankar's vision feels socially dated. It is not that his brand of storytelling has changed, the problem that it is still the same. So this is what the digital media has to say about this film. In general, I have seen the digital media being little more critical than the YouTube reviews, but in this particular film, I feel the scenario being reversed, with the digital media being little more liberal with the ratings and the recommendations. Now let's look at what the YouTube reviewers has to say about this film. The first one is Sucharita Tyagi. She usually doesn't pull back her punches, and I can see that approach in this review as well. She says movies like Gamechanger are not meant for critique and for the audience. No character development and screenplay. At some point in time, even brain rot feels more interesting. The film is loud, dumb and stupid. For 3 hours, it is way too much. There is so much and so little going on. So these are the highlights of her summary. So you get the drift of what she is recommending. The next is Tried and Refused Productions by Jamie Pants. He has established himself as an authority when it comes to movie reviews. He highlights Ram Nandan's character as IPS-turned-IAS officer, and he goes on lamenting about the 400 crores spent on this film. And I completely agree with his sentiments, because to me that sounds outrageous. He talks about Ram Charan's commitment, and he also says this sinking ship cannot be saved by one man's sincerity. And he also comments on the opulence and expenditure on unnecessary things, particularly the money spent on songs, 75 to 80 crores spent just on songs. And finally, one song getting altogether discarded because it had rendering issues for the big screen. And he rightly says that being better than Indian 2 is not good enough, because that is setting the bar way too less. So which also means that this film is a tad bit better than Indian 2, and that's not saying much. Next is Galata Plus by Bharadwaj Rangan. He says this is an underwhelming and predictable rehash of Shankar's movies. There are usually many cringeworthy moments in Shankar's movies, and in this particular movie he talks about an assistant who can walk only sideways, and that's supposed to be funny, it seems. And I'm not surprised, having watched Shankar's movies. Bharadwaj Rangan goes on to say that the predictability of this film can test your patience. I can completely relate to that. The next is Hollywood Reporter India, Anupama Chopra, another popular name when it comes to film reviews. She says this film is ridiculous, and it gets even more ridiculous, and this is definitely not a game changer. The next one is Storyfying Shit. I took her review intentionally for this particular film because she is in general gung-ho about Telugu movies. So she is likely to give a very favorable opinion. I wanted to know her perspective as well for this film, and as expected, she says this is a good film and it deserves an audience. And she goes on to say this is a Ram Charan show and it's worth watching one time. So what I gather from her review is that this film is meant for two kinds of audience. One is definitely Ram Charan's fans, and then the second one is the Telugu film aficionados, and the next one is fully filmy Tamil. This is Raunak Mangotil. I like his reviews. He talks about the cringe meter of this film because apparently there is something called as the anger meter of Ram Nandan, which is always high. So his love interest Kiara Advani tries to bring his anger down. So whenever his anger goes down, the love meter of Kiara Advani goes higher. If this is not cringy enough, what else could it be? And there are so many other cringe moments that various reviewers has talked about, which I am not going in length. You can watch these channel reviews. I have left it in the description below. Please feel free. And he also talks about misplaced songs. He says the core storyline is positive, which is a one-line plot. He also highlights the production values and visuals, but the exorbitant amount spent on those is not warranted. And then we have Kaki's Talkies. He says it is tiring to sit through this film because of its predictability for one, and then there is nothing new in terms of ideas or approach. And he says that the flashback is the only grounded part of this film. And then we have this channel Tamil Talkies, fondly also known as Blue Sattamaran. He usually trashes out all films, and he does the same to this film as well. He says instead of calling this film a game changer, we should rename Shankar as State Changer. Because after ruining the Tamil film industry with Indian 2, now he has shifted his focus to ruining Telugu cinema. He says there has to be some border control established between Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh just to make sure that Shankar doesn't come back. And then we have another similar interesting personality, Suraj Kumar. He has a very funny style of reviewing, and he usually is exorbitant when it comes to praising movies when it's good, and at the same time he has his choicest of expletives when it comes to mediocre films. While talking about this film, he mentions a fan who wanted to commit suicide if the teaser is not released soon enough. Suraj says the fan should have waited a little longer for the movie, and then he would have committed suicide anyways after watching the film. And finally, Filmy Indian. This is Diksha Sharma. She has a news reading style of reviewing, but I guess she is quite popular. She says this is an one-man army, obviously referring to Ram Charan. She calls it outdated cinema, aptly, and the songs are a time waste. I would call it even money waste. So, This is what the YouTubers and the digital media has to say about this film. Going by these reviews, is it worth watching this film or not? If we have to go by the digital media reviews, it is worth a one-time watch. But going by the YouTube reviews, I do not feel it is worth a watch on the big screen. So my personal take on this film is I'm not going to watch it on the big screen. I'm going to skip it on the OTT as well, because I have a huge backlog of Malayalam films to watch, and I have never been a big fan of Shankar's film as well. What do you think about this film? Please let me know your views in the comment section. Also, if you want some of your favorite YouTubers or digital media to be covered in my reviews, please let me know that as well in the comment section. I will try to include them in my next review of reviews. Thanks for staying. I'll come back with my next video. Till then, bye bye.